Hello, everybody, and welcome to a spur of the moment surprise Metallica video that we're doing here on my channel. My name is Patrick, and this is Chris. And we have talked about doing this forever, just kind of ancillarily when we're talking about Metallica, whether we're doing a Metallica reaction, which if this is your first time on my channel, know that we have gone through last year and we listened to all of the Metallica studio albums, including Lulu, and did some awesome reaction videos that are all very long with lots of analysis, some technical analysis, lots of subjective opinions, lots of objective opinions as well. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, go check that stuff out. I have a Metallica playlist on my channel, which this video will be in. So check all that out. But anyway, when we've been filming those, we've talked about the song I Disappear. Chris, as far as I know, are there any other Metallica songs that are like exclusively on soundtracks that you know of?
I don't think so, but an uncredited appearance by James Hetfield in a song on the South Park musical.
Interesting.
Yes, I think it's Satan's first appearance, and he's singing that song about...
I have not seen South Park the musical.
Okay, good, because I can't remember what the sequence is, but I heard it. I was watching it with a friend of mine recently, and I heard in the back, and I was like, is that... No. Is that James?
That is so something because he's South in the back. Park would do.
And it's so perfect. Like I went back and I looked and I was like, yep, uncredited. He's there. So I'm going to call that one.
That's awesome. I love that.
Half a point on that.
So what we're going to do.
But I mean, there haven't even really been like Metallica doesn't do soundtracks.
Yeah, which is so crazy that they did this then. You know, this was what year was this? I didn't even look it up, but
98, I think.
Yeah, so this was right around Load Reload era. This is
right before they broke up. This was broke up. That right before Jason left. Like they did this, and like this is right when I was getting into it. The same exact. I think it. Well, no, that's not true.
Because Jason did S&M, right, which was 99.
Yes, he did. So that was 2000. I'm getting it confused because when I became a Metallica fan in like 2000, I think maybe early 2001, via Reload, and then this video was very popular. Maybe we need to cut all of the stuff that I've just said out because the dates aren't lining up. So I'm going to look real quick.
You look that up, and I just want to say it was really interesting time in the music industry because, and I
2000 Metallica song.
Okay, I love that era because I love, and I've talked about it here on my channel many times, movie soundtracks were like such a huge influence to me and my musical taste. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to cough, so I'm going to put my cough drop in, so I apologize.
So, yeah, just to finish what I was saying, now that I've got the dates right. I became a fan of Metallica in like right around this time, 2000. This song had just come out, S&M had just come out, and I think that like I remember watching this, and for whatever reason, Jason in this video just made me like think that he was just the coolest guy in the whole world.
So cool. I love that.
And it was like, while I was like, this guy, whoever this guy is, seems really cool. He left the band 10 minutes ago. Like I was just right in the overlap as he was leaving the band is right when I discovered them.
That's funny. Okay. So what I was going to say is this was the time when soundtracks were like huge, and there was like movie studios would just throw money at these huge artists. And the ones I remember specifically are this one. And at the time, I didn't even have any clue how big of a band Metallica was at all. But Metallica, of course, one of the biggest bands on the planet at the time, you know, and still to this day. The I Disappear for the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack.
Yep.
But then they also had Korn with, I think the song was Did My Time. Or I could be wrong, but for the Tomb Raider 2 soundtrack.
Oh, boy.
And that video was very similar to this one. Korn in like the streets, whatever, and it was like kind of apocalyptic, whatever, mixing in clips from the movie. And I remember those two songs in my head are kind of linked, along with that U2 song, Elevation, that was for a movie as well. And I can't remember which movie that was or what the deal with that was. But I remember
Hero by Saliva.
And Chad Kroeger.
And Chad Kroeger for the end of Spider-Man.
They say that a hero can save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait. I'll
And it's so
hold
funny
on
how,
to
like,
the wings of an eagle. I didn't know
Stop
I
that.
remembered that.
You're going to remember every word of that song, I promise you.
Train had that song too for Spider-Man. But yes,
Really?
yeah. Train. They had like Train's coolest song, other than Drops of Jupiter, which might be the greatest song ever written.
Drops of Jupiter is a turd. That's one of my most hated songs of all time.
Oh well, you're stupid and wrong. But Train had a really cool song that was like this really cool rocking guitar with these like string stabs, and that was also for Spider-Man 2, I think. So I guess anyway, the point we're making is that you could have these bands that had this song that was made specifically for a movie. And I don't feel like up until that point that had been done a ton.
I think that you're right. I think late 90s, early 2000s is when this really took off as an idea.
90s.
And it's so frustrating that soundtrack, like these songs are all going in the credits. Like after the initial part of the credit run,
I think the main
mid-credits.
I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about soundtracks. I think
Go ahead.
I think the main purpose of these soundtracks, which this is going to sound so crazy to people nowadays, but I think the purpose of putting all this money into bands creating songs for the soundtrack was so that they could sell CDs. So they could sell copies of the soundtrack. And they did. Those soundtracks were everywhere. And, you know, I've talked before
We all
about...
know them all.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I've talked about this before. Every horror movie had the most badass metal soundtrack ever. You know, and a lot of the movies didn't have any metal music in it at all. Some of them did. Freddy vs. Jason was really good with that. But, like... a lot of the movies, you know, horror movies just have creepy music in it. But those, like all the Saw movies, The Cave has an amazing double disc set of just like crazy, hardcore, extreme European power metal and stuff. Like, it has nothing to do with the movie, but it's like literally one of the best metal compilations of all time. The Abyss, so many movies. The Underworld soundtracks are my favorite soundtracks because every song, they had a band come in and they either recorded something new or they took an old song and they gave it to Maynard and Renhauser from A Perfect Circle. And they just said, here, we'll do whatever you want with these tracks. And they made these like incredible like trip hop remixes of like Linkin Park and David Bowie and
that sounds amazing.
Yes, the Underworld soundtracks are literally some of my favorite like CDs that like albums that I own, and the Resident Evil soundtracks are phenomenal, and I just wanted to point out like this goes back to the mid '90s as well, because in the mid 90s there was like you had things like The Crow, and you had movies like Spawn, which the Spawn soundtrack is so badass because what they did was they took bands that were like rock new metal bands at the time and they paired them with a hip hop group and they mashed their songs together. So like the whole Spawn soundtrack is incredible. Like there's like Big Pun featuring Incubus, and there's like Filter featuring Crystal Method, which is that Trip Like I Do, famous Trip Like I Do remix. That's where that comes from. And,
cool.
And like the whole soundtrack is phenomenal, and it's all music that just exists on those soundtracks. And so, go ahead.
An interesting, and we've talked in a previous format that no one ever heard about the difference between a soundtrack and a score. And because I was going to say this, it's so true. This era, like I was doing a lot of soundtrack purchasing at this time, like the Gladiator soundtrack, which ultimately is the Gladiator score.
Right.
I had that CD and I listened to that thing all the time. And that's all. This is also when like Final Fantasy had gotten popular enough that we were getting CDs of the soundtrack. So I had my FF9 soundtrack that I listened to until it melted. And the thing that you said there about this music all existing specifically for soundtracks, the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack, there is a soundtrack and a score, and they're separate. And the score did not come out in a way that could be heard until like last year.
Really?
Because there's one song, at least one sequence in the movie where there was a song that I was like, from a score perspective, love it. Absolutely love it. I think about it all the time.
That's awesome.
At the end, when they're spraying Vigo with the slime and sending it back into the painting, like it does this bum, bum, with the big horns and like this sort of fast string thing. And it's so good. And I've never been able to find it. I've looked for years, just periodically throughout the years, never, ever, ever. And it was just like last year, the year before, the Ghostbusters 2 original score came out on Spotify, and like they have a soundtrack which is all of the 80s like regular pop songs that were in the movie, and that's been out forever since the movie came out. But the score is brand new, and it's just like, what a weird separation. And why in the world did it take 30 years to hear it? I'm not quite sure, but
that is weird.
I love it.
I was going to say, I feel like it's a lot more common nowadays to release a soundtrack and a score separately, or at least it was maybe 10 years ago.
Interesting.
Because I do have some, like, you know, a lot.
How often do they have two different elements in one movie?
That's a great question. You know, I don't know. They don't really do soundtracks too much anymore. You know, but I'm thinking like almost with video games, like for example, when Mafia 3 came out, they released the score and the soundtrack. The soundtrack had like, you know, the Rolling Stones and a whole bunch of stuff on it. And then the score was all these amazing blues songs that these two guys wrote for the movie, because the whole movie is scored with like this bluesy, swampy blues stuff.
Game.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's way more music than there would be in a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so we don't need to go on and on about this forever. I just think it's a really interesting aspect of music that, you know, I think people probably don't think about that often.
Yeah, like how often are you, like, you know, you've got your favorite band and you've got all the albums, all the hits, whatever, and you come across a song and you're like, what the hell is this? And you're like, why have I never heard this?
Yeah.
Research. Soundtrack.
Yeah, it's really
for
funny.
Bubble Boy, like,
dude, yes, the John Tucker Must Die has some good stuff on it.
Oh, sure.
You remember the movie Osmosis Jones?
Yes.
The cartoon of like the guy that goes into the guy's body or whatever, like that has a good soundtrack. Titan AE has a badass soundtrack.
Really good. Yeah.
I have like 2 or 3 shelves just full of soundtracks. Dude, you would be shocked at some of the ones that are so good. Idle Hands was there was an exclusive White Zombie song on the Idle Hands soundtrack.
Interesting.
So yeah, just a bunch of really cool stuff like that. I love this stuff. But in terms of Metallica, this song we're going to listen to, we're actually going to watch the music video as well, because I thought it would be very nostalgic to watch the music video. I personally don't think I've seen the music video or heard this song in the last... honestly, probably like 20 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and that's not even ridiculous. So I think I'm very excited. I want to hear what it sounds like. The quality of the video is very low, but I ripped this video off of Metallica's official website.
Wow.
Off of Metallica's official YouTube page, I should say.
Wow.
And the highest...
that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, the highest resolution they had was 480. So that's what this is, 480.
What a time to be alive. How did we see anything?
Yeah, if I would have had time, I guess I could have found a lossless version of the song and synced it up to the video. But
here's a semi-related thing that is very interesting without a point. Just thinking about, I was thinking more about like songs exclusive to soundtracks, and I thought about Scott Pilgrim with that Metric song that is sung by Brie Larson. And it's like, it's a different version of the same song in a very exclusive way where you're never going to get Brie Larson singing that song anytime except for that movie. And then I thought about the movie Zombieland has For Whom the Bell Tolls playing in the beginning of it, but the Blu-ray, like, it's the way that song sounds on the Blu-ray, like remastered.
hello.
So yeah, the Blu-ray has like a remastered version of that of For Whom the Bell Tolls that sounds better than anything on any album.
Interesting.
And it's like, I mean, can we please get this whole album to sound like this way? Like, this is insane.
That's the thing about movies. Like, I've experienced that a lot. When you hear a song in a movie, and it just sounds like it's mixed way better. And part of me wonders about, because audio for video is rendered at 48K, which is higher than 44.1, which doesn't sound like a large number, but it makes a huge difference actually. And it's just higher resolution audio basically. And especially for Blu-ray, it might even be higher than that. I don't even know.
Yeah, I can't. I'd have to look and see.
But my point was going to be that oftentimes with movies, depending on how big the movie is, they might get the stems from the song, and they can literally remix the thing to be what they want it to be. And yeah, oftentimes it's just like incredible. So it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
But let's get to I Disappear.
Yes.
Because I'm excited to listen to this. Now, the reason I mentioned the quality of this is because it probably will sound kind of crappy.
I was just about to say, I'm waiting for like crummy early 2000s MP3 artifacting in the audio itself, and I'm curious. And it's like, but that is an interesting thing because it's like, am I going to have to pull up the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack on Spotify to get a good version of this song?
You may have to. Yeah. Or probably just look it up on YouTube and like someone's I'm sure uploaded the regular version without the video. But
yeah, that could be. I was going to say you could find the good version and then just like drop it in.
Oh, like halfway through? If we point that out, I'll do that.
Hey, that's not bad. Yeah, you're right.
Just like say, okay, we're going to switch to the FLAC version like now. But I think part of the journey of this journey is going to be listening to it crappy. However, I want to pay attention to the production because this is going to be the last thing that they are recorded and officially released as a studio release before Saint Anger. So.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to hit play on the video in 3, 2, 1. Did you hear? Oh. My God, mine exploded my ears.
Same.
That's what I remember.
It's so memorable.
Look at Jason in his suit.
Bars and all of his hair. This sounds way better than I expected.
Yeah. Oh.
Classic James on the left, Kirk on the right. God, they look so young and relevant.
There's a lot of them in this video too, which is really cool.
A lot of what?
I thought I remembered Tom Cruise being in the video and stuff a bunch.
Oh yeah, he's just not in here anywhere, I don't think.
Yeah. That kick sounds really wonky.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at James's facial hair.
It's all over. It's crazy. You know what's really annoying?
What?
I think that we are both older than they were when they made this.
Don't tell me something like that, you jerk.
Don't tell you something like that?
That's unacceptable.
I agree.
Just as soon as I belong.
There's a lot of Jason in this thing.
So that whole chorus was just a snare drum roll rise. So far it's just been one part, plus that little chorus thing we just heard.
It's super simple, you're right.
Yeah. Which is kind of indicative of a soundtrack song.
No need to go wild making up a bunch of cool stuff for something no one's going to hear.
Yep. Definitely.
This is probably the least cool that James has ever looked.
Definitely like reload background vocals, spread wide, vocal harmonies. Very weird guitar notes on the side there. Just like noodling.
He looks like, especially in the car, he's like when you're in high school and you've got a friend and it's like his older brother.
Yeah.
This part rules.
Ooh. So this would have been the first Metallica guitar solo people had heard since Black Album. 10 years.
There's plenty of solos on Load and Reload.
No. Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking they didn't have solos, but that was St. Anger.
Yeah.
You're right, 100%.
This is the last one you would hear for probably
Yeah, no, you're right.
10 years.
The exact opposite of what I said.
Yep.
Lars, run! Oh, that is badass.
It's not very common that people look cool running.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that they make Tom Cruise run all the time because he's like one of the few people who looks cool running.
Yeah.
Lars is doing all right here.
Whoa. That was the actual stunt Tom Cruise did for the movie, right?
What's that?
I think that was the actual stunt Tom Cruise did for that movie. Or am I wrong?
Oh, look, there he is right at the end.
Yeah. No, I was
That
just saying,
sucks.
I think that that's the actual jumping out that window was one of the famous stunts from that movie, I think.
Oh, and so they just did like a splice when they
Yeah,
went from
yeah.
inside to outside and they cut to the movie.
I think that was what a lot of that was, because I think in the movie they did like a thing with the airplane flying low, and they did several different things like that. But I've never
That
seen
song's still fire.
I've never seen the Mission Impossible movies. I agree, 100%. I absolutely love it. It is basically the same thing the entire time, which to me fits with the soundtrack mentality of a band going into the studio to record one song, probably in like one day, maybe a week at most, and just doing it for the money, basically.
And it's crazy like that to think about that riff, like bump, bump, bump. Like it's honestly, it's a perfect example of what Metallica does so well. Like just
At that point in their
simple
career.
riffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And to me, it's all
But
about
I mean,
that.
that's been in forever. Like the way that they craft these little tiny riffs, usually made out of three something, where it's like, how do you get three different, just whatever notes, whatever you want to call it, so catchy every time. Like there's nothing to that song, and it is super catchy.
Yeah. Well, they found a good riff, and then when you got a really good riff like that, you can repeat it a bunch. And then they can also throw in tiny slight variations of it, some stops, some double times, and it depends, if there's like a drum fill, it really feels like it's making it different, even though the guitars are doing the same thing. To me, it's all about that ew, like that, dum dum, ew, like that. Like I'm sure that's like multiple layers of guitar. Sorry, I'm out of cough drops, so I gotta vapo inhale. Say something about how much you like that.
I think if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have anything. Like that is working so hard. But like as a cohesive piece, like that little weird sound isn't carrying the song, but it is making it go from good to great.
Right. It's not quite to the level of that Jump Around song, right, by House of Pain. It's not quite to that level.
What a funny comparison.
But
You're
it's
so right.
Well, I mean, it's just a thing that repeats at the same time every measure throughout basically the entire song. So during the verses, it is a little different though, because they don't have that in there when he's going, hey, hey, hey.
True.
Like it's not in there. So then when it comes back in, that feels like it's sort of the main riff. So, love it. I think this kick drum sound was very weird. It was very.
It was. I noticed it towards the last.
There wasn't really any low end in it that I could discern really.
It was
all.
very slappy.
Yeah.
It sounded just kind of live and.
You did. It sounded like the sound of a beater hitting the head of a kick drum is what it sounded like. And then compressed a lot. I think the rest of the drums sounded okay. There was lots of compression on that. However, that might have been because it was the music video on YouTube in 480p quality. So I just mentioned like 480 different levels of compression there. So, we can't really go about that, but I think, we said some of them looked ridiculous. Some of them looked badass. I think Lars looked awesome running. Jason looked awesome the entire time when he was just like in the crowd of people and stuff. It reminded me.
It's like, why does he look awesome? Like he's not doing anything. He's just standing in a crowd of people with a suit on, mean mugging. Like
I think he's just got kind of like a really
he's killing it.
Honestly, on a scientific level. I think he just has like a very chiseled face. Like his face is very formed. Like it would be easy to draw like a caricature of his face. Not everybody's like that, you know. And so
right, and he does have a very character.
And the fact that his goatee was so dumb and so like 90s, you know, it kind of goes up a little bit, you know. And so like, yeah, I don't know, but that scene of him where they were, it reminded me of like Matrix, which was very much a thing at the time, and it reminded me of
very much. Oh yeah, that's so true.
It reminded
there was so much Matrix in that video.
Yeah, and it reminded me of what's that song? That Fatboy Slim song where Christopher Walken is dancing. You can blow with this. You can blow with her. You can blow with this. You can blow with her.
Pump up the jam.
No. If you walk without rhythm, you can't something the worm. Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim.
That sounds like a terrible song, I gotta say.
You're dumb. Again, wrong.
Well, listen, I don't know it.
Yes, you do.
Top. Like you,
the music video.
I might.
The music video where Christopher Walken is dancing in that giant place. None of that sounding familiar to you?
No.
It's like one of the greatest music videos of all time. I crap
I'll have
you
to
not.
see it. I'm sure I've seen it. I'm sure I've heard it. But what you're doing is not bringing it to me.
Well, I just did a great job, and everybody watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about.
They know all about it, exactly.
Weapon of Choice by Fatboy Slim. He also had that really cool music video with the car that's going around in a circle. That was, whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I really liked watching music videos when I was in high school. We all
had something like that. I have a friend of mine, she loved anime AMVs where it was just like anime clips with like Linkin Park under them, like all day.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right, well, I feel like we've said most of what we needed to say while it was going, and then now. Mm-hmm. So we don't need to go for too much longer. This video is already going to be half hour long, and that's great. Yeah. So, you got any final thoughts on I Disappear?
Timeless classic.
Do you wish they would have included it on a Metallica album somewhere?
Just for convenience. Like,
do they play it on Symphony of Metallica?
No.
Okay. I do know, I just saw, this is totally coincidental, but I was looking up stuff earlier today online about And Justice, because we're going to film our And Justice re-listen in a second here. Mm-hmm. And up popped earlier in 2023, in October, Metallica performing I Disappear in like Chicago or somewhere.
I was just about to say, I don't even think they've ever played it live.
Yeah, they're playing it on this tour somewhere at least.
This current tour.
Yeah.
That's even crazier. Wow.
Now, I know they're playing like all sorts of different songs in the different places. So, because they just filmed like a huge show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where they had like 470 billion people there. And and so like maybe they did different songs there than they would. And I don't know if maybe they did that I Disappear in the song where that like tower is that they're standing on.
Yeah.
Is that in Chicago? I don't even know. Or New York, probably.
In the video?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, maybe wherever that tower is, maybe when they were playing there, they're like, we'll play I Disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying, throwing it out there as a possibility rather than...
I'd be super interested to hear a modern live recording of that song.
Yeah? Have you heard any of the live recordings of them on this tour?
No, I haven't heard anything live from them. I tend to not watch it just because I don't watch it. But
yeah, I'd
love to hear it.
I try not to watch any Metallica stuff ever, but I know that there's just so much we'll never get to it. And so I have clicked on a few songs from this new tour. Actually, I haven't even listened to a song. I just listened to them like bantering and stuff. But while they're bantering, Lars will like play the drums or whatever, and it sounds freaking phenomenal. And so I know that, but they have like every show they're doing this whole tour in its entirety uploaded to YouTube.
That's awesome. They've been doing that for a while. That's
they have great. Like, you can go buy the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever on their website. You can go buy any show. So, lots and lots and lots of clips, hundreds and hundreds of clips. But I Disappear is out there. I saw it today, so maybe that would be something we could.
Awesome. I'm gonna look it up.
Watch. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been an unexpected Metallica video, and we hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you stick around and watch the next one with us as well. We'll see you then.